Hello, and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy episode 217 for the week of...
Whoa. This isn't episode 217. Don't lie to people.
It's still 217. It's all new, all different Comic Conspiracy episode number 1, rebooted for 2015, July 7th, 2015 to be precise. My name's Ryan Higgins, who's here with me this week.
Brock Sager.
And that's it. So we've rebooted back to our origin, apparently. Back to just me and Brock. Good old Brock.
Good old Ryan.
Everyone's either getting ready for con or too busy being a parent, or those are the only two reasons people aren't here. They're either too busy at con or too busy being a parent. So
yeah,
there you go. Yeah. Fortunately, I don't have to worry about...
One of those is very important. The other one, not so much.
Yeah, I know. Con, just the most important part of the year.
You're a parent, yeah, you know.
Yeah, I'm not going to con this year, so... I got nothing. All I have to do is...
Why do you need to go to con? People get you shit.
I know. That's the best. So hopefully our good friend Lane is able to score some sweet stuff. I know Toby's going to try to get a few things. Here's the thing with going to Comic-Con. And next week, by the way, we'll have a ton of news from Comic-Con, I'm sure. I don't know if Toby and Lane...
non-news.
No, I don't know if Toby and Lane and all those guys will be on next week. It depends on their schedule, but we'll have...
We're going to get the news before they do.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll have a big con, talk from their perspective when they get back here. But, going to Comic-Con, if there's one thing that I've learned from dealing with people that go every year, is never ask them, hey, can you just pick me up something real quick? Because that's not how Comic-Con works. So when I ask Lane or Toby or any of these guys, I say, hey, look, here's a list of things I would like. If you happen across them, cool. Yep. If you can't get it, you can't get it. That's because I understand. Like, those lines are insane. Trying to get there in the morning, plan your whole day around this type of stuff. Don't ask people to get stuff at Comic-Con unless they're already going there.
Well, you can ask if you can ask them to be on the lookout for you.
Oh, sure.
But don't make it a priority because...
Don't be like, hey, I really need this.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, fucking buy it yourself. Well, and here's the thing, too. If you go to buy stuff online... stuff from Comic-Con, even if it was $50 on Comic-Con, it's $150 on eBay. That's so much cheaper than going to Comic-Con to buy it for $50. So just buy it for $150 on eBay. You're saving thousands of dollars.
And a lot of times free shipping.
Yeah, if you only want one or two things, like you can get everything on eBay so much cheaper than actually going to con. It is higher than retail, but you're saving tons of money. So we've actually got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about this week. And I got some good emails here that I wanted to read. I do have a couple of Twitter questions.
We'll see what emails.
I got a string.
Definitely revamped ourselves.
I got a string of emails that I all wanted to discuss. So before we talk about any real news here, I do want to talk about what is actually my favorite comic news story of this entire week. I try not to go too gossipy on this podcast.
Oh, we do sometimes.
We talk about the retail end. We talk about the business end. We talk about upcoming stuff. Some reviews of current stuff. Some discussion. But occasionally, a story so great hits.
Just falls out of the sky.
I need to talk about it. If you follow any of the comic sites this past week, you may have heard about this bizarre story of Arthur Suydam, who's a longtime comic artist, but more popular recently in the last 8 years or so, 10 years, as being the cover artist for Marvel Zombies, a popular series of comics. Originally started by Robert Kirkman, that has Marvel kind of Walking Dead-ized all their characters, right?
Yeah.
And just, this very popular, zombie craze. So, the story breaks over the weekend. He was at a convention in the Montreal Comic-Con, and he apparently took over the table of 3 other creators. So, he gets there early, he has his one paid table, and then he takes the names off all the other tables around him, the 3 other tables around him, and puts up his own banners and stuff there before anyone else can get there to set up. And so the creators were noticeably pissed. But what had happened in the past was, I guess, he's done this before, but just never to anyone that maybe cared. I mean, I've set up at cons before. Brock, we've done Big Wow. Mm-hmm. This last year, my girlfriend Leanne and her friend Lane set up. They were supposed to be next to each other. They get there. They're 2 rows apart. They have the wrong name on Lane's table, right? So fuck-ups happen constantly. But this actually seemed the time where people kind of called him on this and like, hey, you took my table. Like, this never changed.
Well, when it's a fuck up on the convention's part, it's normally like, oh, look, I get there, it's the wrong name, I'm not in the same spot, but when you go to the spot you're supposed to be in, there's nobody there.
Right.
That's the con screwing up.
Well, yeah, so, cons, again, so this happens all the time. So it's possible that this had happened various times and just people, the con was like, oh, one person didn't know what the other was doing and they just didn't think about it. But so people kind of start calling him on this, and it becomes this, all of a sudden everyone starts coming out of the work going, oh, I've seen this guy pull this before. I've seen him pull this before. Mm-hmm. We've seen him do stuff like this, at other cons. And so this ends up becoming kind of this big, internet comics pro Twitter discussion online of all these people going, oh yeah, I've seen this guy do it, and other artists were near him, including Francis Manapool, who I would argue is a way bigger name artist than Arthur Suydam.
Oh, yeah.
As far as like monocomic goes, he's a consistent interior artist on multiple titles. Arthur Suydam is a good artist, but he just does mock-ups of pre-existing covers in that zombie format. So he doesn't actually.
He's not doing anything necessarily new and original.
Really.
He's copying a cover or a panel that has been done before by somebody else and just applying his zombie mask
his zombie filter. So the guy that kind of kicked this off was Charlie's hero, Jim Zub.
Yeah.
And so over the weekend and into today, a crazy amount of like just bizarre stuff starts happening. So all these guys start kind of freaking out about this online. Mark Waid gets very defensive and jumps on the, hey, I'm going to freak out at this guy if I see him at a con because this is bullshit. Yeah. People start digging into his website and find that he has all these bizarrely photoshopped pictures of lines where he has these lines of people at his table, but it's like the most like North Korean ass fucking fake Photoshop looking thing in the world, and people very quickly find just like lines at Comic-Con, like on image search. The top 2 searches are these guys that were just photoshopped into this picture. So first, Suydam is blaming the con organizers and blaming the photoshopping of these pictures. He's like, oh, it's some old site I don't even use, despite the site being updated constantly with new things he's doing. And then he blames the photoshopping of these pictures on an intern. This guy is an intern? I don't think this guy is an intern. Like, this is him. And then people really start getting into his site. There's these bizarre interviews that he has on his website that are like clearly just him interviewing, writing an interview.
You were telling me like his website says, oh, right, artist on Walking Dead.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not even up there anymore.
Oh, they took that down?
It looks like that got taken down.
I don't remember if that was on his front of his website or what site that was, but he listed himself as the artist of Walking Dead. He did one cover for Walking Dead, and he listed himself as an artist of Walking Dead. I mean, a lot of people, I've kind of bullshit like that. I mean, I'm not going to say other people don't do it, but that's calling yourself the artist. If you say I've done art for Walking Dead, that's all you need to say.
The best part about like just going to his webpage and going to the home is the last thing on the little blurb under the picture montage is please feast your eyes on the galleries or take time to read about his incredible legacy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the legacy is great. And he has like these bizarre interviews kind of like with himself. Mm-hmm. And so when reached for questioning, he replied on Monday saying, oh, I had like, the manager replied, and we didn't have cell service, we couldn't get an internet reception or something. I don't think there's a manager. I'm pretty sure this is just this dude and there's like fucking multiple personalities here. So then he ends up sending some pretty poorly worded article to Comic Book Resources and other people today, which Comic Book Resources did take down after his booking agent, again, I'm pretty sure he has no booking agent, I'm sure it's just him, said, oh, that was not meant to be publicly posted. And he's saying that, he sets up this bizarre, like, U.S. versus Canada kind of like pro fight. Like,
did you read the legacy stuff on here?
No, I didn't even.
It's hilarious.
I read bits and pieces of it.
It goes about his family.
I I read a little bit of it. Did you read We Stand Guard, the new Brian K. Vaughan
No, not
book?
yet.
Okay,
I haven't.
So it's about the war between America and Canada. Fuck, he was prophetic.
He was trying to do it.
This is Arthur Suydam fucking is the war that is the start of the war between Canada and the United States. Because he's like calling these, he's like, all these fan artists in Canada talking about Jim Zub.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, they didn't know anything. They were there. No one was at their tables. Everyone came for all the American artists. And he's like, the low IQ online crowds, too lazy to check facts and more interested to turn simple misunderstanding into an opportunity to create some trouble jumped in. The promoters came out and, I mean, cop that there was some confusion, but it doesn't. They don't cop that this didn't happen. So it's such a bizarre story, and I want this to keep going on. Like, I love this. This is my favorite story from this year by far. I love this story. Mm-hmm. It's such a strange thing. It's so good, Brock. Yeah, I'll read through his legacy, quote unquote, tonight.
Yeah, no, it's like I just read it. Like I gleamed over a little bit of it. Apparently, like previous people in his family have been artists.
Sure.
Yeah, they once owned this land. I'm like, there's probably a good reason why it's they once owned.
Yeah. Well, there is like some amazing Photoshop jobs came out of his line, like.
Oh yeah, the Hello Kitty in the background,
just
Jesus with the Marvel zombies.
Yeah, them just photoshopping random people in line, and other people photoshopping their head on top of his head, and they're like, "Look at me, I met Obama." Like, it was the funniest thing. It's so good. Oh god, I love the story so much. I love the story.
I think it's hilarious because it's like, oh, all this Americans and versus the Canadians. I'm like, comics are mainly an American media.
Well, there's a lot of Canadian artists.
No, we have a lot of Canadian artists. But wouldn't people from creators? Wouldn't people from Canada going to a Canada show want to see the people that are in the industry? Like, what if they're from England, or like there are artists from different countries because the industry can now just email an image,
right?
Like,
well, I'm sure I'm sure there were, I'm sure if you go to a con, Arthur Suydam would have a bigger line than Jim Zub. Like, I'm not going to argue that fact.
No, yeah, that would probably be.
But being local, Jim Zub might at that con. I mean, he's got a good fan base. But then Suydam, like, what's he doing these days? What's he doing now? Like a variant cover here and there, like resting on this old stuff. This is just this crazy mentality.
After Marvel Zombies came out, there was a huge push for his stuff, and then Marvel was even had those Wolverine books that had like 6 months of just zombie covers from him, and it's like they keep going back to him every once in a while, kind of to say, oh, because it's zombies, it'll sell. But I mean, nobody cares anymore.
No.
I mean, when I first came back to the shop,
like the Marvel Zombie stuff, like that first series, but the rest of it's garbage. No one cares anymore.
Everyone was like Marvel Zombies, like 10 years ago. Now they're like, what?
Yeah.
So
yeah. All right, I love that story. That story's so good. I want to see more.
I'm just waiting for Mark Waid to beat the shit out of him.
Oh, I want to see more of that. Real quick, we got some casting of Daredevil Season 2. They officially cast Elektra. Elodie Young, who is in G.I. Joe Retaliation. So she'll be playing Elektra. I probably butchered that name, but hopefully close enough.
Some chick from some movie you haven't seen?
She's a human with skin. I'm sure she'll do a perfectly fine job. I don't claim to know who any of these people are, so she looks fine. She looks like she can play Elektra, so I'm sure it'll be good. We also have a ton of we had our very special bonus episode last week. Hopefully you guys all listened to me try to survive that episode.
I think the best part of that extra part episode was buck fucking teeth.
Bryce, I love you, buddy, but you got to take it down 2 notches, okay? I think you shattered some people's...
How many people are permanently deaf because of this?
I actually, because I go through and I level the audio and everything like that, and I went to that, and it was loud, but it wasn't like overtly loud. It's just, I think it's more startling than anything because he very quickly gets very excited.
Somebody burned themselves with their McDonald's coffee listening to our podcast.
If you got into a horrible car accident while listening to Bryce talk,
as soon as you can tweet, let us know.
Have your lawyer contact Bryce. Okay, anyway. So we've got a ton more books got announced, just like every year. Comic-Con's not about comics anymore, so we have some...
Everything seems to come out like right before.
Yeah, well, DC has a handful of miniseries that are going to be launching in January. Originally, this was reported as October. I don't know what's up with that. There's supposed to be stuff happening in October, but I guess it's all January.
Maybe.
So some original creators of these characters are coming back. Len Wein, co-creator of Swamp Thing, is coming back to do a new Swamp Thing miniseries, as well as a new Metal Men book. He's not the co-creator of that, but I'm always up for more Metal Men. It's done right.
They were trying to do those back before the New 52, and I just couldn't get into those ones. Like, I like the Metal Men as a group.
Yeah,
Johns did an amazing job with them.
Yeah.
In the New 52 stuff. But I don't know, because of the openness of DC's continuity now, I don't know if I'm necessarily going to enjoy the Metal Men we're presented with.
Well, these could be very classic takes on the character, and that's what I'm hoping, because I think that Swamp Thing was a hit during Convergence. I think people really enjoyed that book. The Metal Men, I think the Johns version was as close to the original version we've seen in a while. A couple other books here. Marv Wolfman's going to be writing a new Raven miniseries. And again, I'm hoping slightly more traditional. I don't really dig the New 52 Raven with like the clam mask or whatever.
That's Raven?
Yeah, with like the white. Yeah, I don't like.
I thought it was a new character.
No, that's Raven. Yeah. I mean, have you been reading Teen Titans?
There's a Teen Titans book?
Yes. What?
Oh,
what are you saying?
I get variant covers on that occasionally.
Yeah. Raven's been in it, but I haven't really liked it.
I think the last Teen Titans I read was the crossover with Legion that they did like the first year.
Teen Titans crossover. Oh, right. Yeah. Way earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Way earlier.
Yeah.
And it was with like the Legion Lost characters.
Right. Jerry Conway, co-creator of Firestorm, is going to be writing a new Firestorm, hoping for some Ronnie and Professor Stein, and hopefully, just based off Arrow success, we get a more classic take on Firestorm. Brock's personal favorite of this group, Mike Barr, writer of The Outsiders, bringing back one of his favorite characters in that book, Katana.
I'm hopeful.
Hopefully, it can't be worse than the last.
Because the current Katana, I think there's one story I read with her.
Like, she's fine.
Like, there's one story I read with her. I can't remember where it was.
That book was. I didn't even bother.
But it is. Like, I tried reading it. It's bad.
Yeah. I didn't even bother. So, they're going to freshen up and contemporize, according to Dan Didio, but hopefully we do get some kind of, classic feel to those characters. So, especially Swamp Thing. Very excited to see more Swamp Thing. Unlikely it'll go back to as good as what they were doing before with Snyder and with
I think what Charles
Soule.
What Scott Snyder and Charles Soule did with Swamp Thing was it gave him a solid villains gallery.
Yeah.
And that's what you need in a really good book, is a good solid villains, just a rogues gallery, and Swamp Thing never really had a solid rogues gallery. I mean, the stuff by Alan Moore is amazing.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really have besides God, why am I blanking on his name? The guy the uncle of what's her name of Abby.
Oh, Arcane?
Arcane.
Yeah.
Like, Arcane is his only nemesis, really.
Right.
There's nothing really to him. But with what they did with the red and the black and the gray, and like added all of these different elements of, kind of there's even the machines. There's a lot of different aspects of world, of Swamp Thing's world now than there was before.
Yeah, no, they definitely added a lot of interesting elements. I like the gray. I like everything they've done with the expanding of the green and the Parliament of Trees. Like the guys are coming back.
The Parliament of Trees was awesome because we got characters that started to manipulate the board. Right. We got the wolf and I forgot the female one.
Yeah, like a couple issues
Miss
from the
Weeds
end,
or Miss Weeds or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, there's great potential in those characters, and those two creators did such an amazing job with something. So I'm hopeful it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, if it goes back to the old stuff, You know, I think if a good blend of the new with the old would be what they should need to shoot for.
I think that's what they'll end up doing, right? They're saying, kind of modern takes, but original creators, so there's going to be a lot of classic elements in them. We also have a couple more miniseries. Writer Amy Chu, who worked on the Sensation Comics, is going to be doing a new Poison Ivy miniseries, Cycle of Life and Death. I'm excited for that. I do love Poison Ivy.
I mean, it looks like she has a normal costume on.
And the cover art looks like what's his name too?
Oh, it's
Gilliam March.
Gilliam March, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like him. So I can't really read the signature, but it totally looks like him. So I'm assuming it is. Aaron Lepresi, who's done
it's Gilliam March. I see it.
All sorts of various books for DC throughout the years, is doing a new Metamorpho miniseries, and the most weird and confusing one. I'm very excited for this. Is Keith Giffen. I mean, love him or hate him, I love his stuff. I think he's so funny still. He's doing a new Sugar and Spike miniseries. Now, this is an old 50s comic from DC with, like, these two spoiled kids. It was like one of their comedy, like, kid series way back in the day. Obviously very different take on what they're doing now. They're adults, and they're going to be private investigators trying to solve, like, superhero crime. This could be totally funny. I mean, I like Keith Giffen's...
I mean, it has potential.
Keith Giffen's the one to do this. Now, why they don't just have a Ralph and Sue Dibny Elongated Man comic
that would
by
be...
Keith Giffen?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so good. Maybe this is a stepping stone to that? I don't know. So I'm, excited to see what they do with these.
Maybe this is what Dan Didio never wanted, Elongated Man or Sue Digby, and he finally got rid of them, and he's never bringing them back.
Maybe. No, they're in Secret Six. Or Ralph Dibny's in Secret Six, at least.
He is?
Yeah.
I haven't read issue 3.
Yeah, it is heavily implied...
In issue 3?
Heavily implied that he's in there.
Oh, yeah. In issue 3?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't read issue 3.
Yeah. And so if you're excited for any of those, you may be hopefully excited for some of these too. Image Expo happened again right before Comic-Con too, so I question that. Usually they do it way early.
They jump around a lot with that when they do it.
Yeah, well, they did it right before Comic-Con one time, like in San Diego, right? But didn't they do like a pre-Comic-Con event a couple years ago, 2 years ago, maybe? So. But normally they do this.
I went a few years ago to the one up here.
I completely forgot this was even happening.
You completely forget every year.
No, I know it's happening. I just don't go because it's usually on days that I can't.
Yeah, it's days you can't, and you don't send me or anybody else.
Yeah, I didn't even remember this was happening. People were like, oh, Image Expo. I was like, what? Really? Oh, okay. So we got a huge list of books here that are coming out. So some you may be interested, some maybe not. Invincible Reboot. That's just what it's called.
Perfect.
It's just another arc in Invincible. It's not a new number one. It's just more Invincible.
Well, no, but it's perfect. Like Invincible is the superhero title that you give to people who've never read a superhero book, because it every story arc deals with like a superhero type story arc. Like he's the ultimate superhero in the sense that he has. Every single story that has been told about superheroes has been in Invincible, virtually.
Yeah. But this is not a number one going totally redoing everything. This is continuing the story in some fashion. So, I haven't read Invincible in a long time, but hopefully that'll bring in some new readers. From Anthony Johnson, who does The Fuse, Anthony, and Shari Chankama. Who does Sheltered. I like the art. Chankama. I just can't pronounce the name. Comes codename Babushka.
Babushka.
The Conclave of Death, because everything has to have a colon.
Colon, yeah.
The something of something.
Yeah.
So, looks like the tagline is, what if the sexy Russian Bond girl was actually the hero? I thought that was Velvet, but there you go.
Or I thought it was Red.
Yeah. That could be interesting. It looks cool. I've heard good things about Fuse. I'm man. So I've moved a vast majority of my comic reading and for indie stuff over to trade paperbacks.
It's better.
Yeah. Now I just need to read those trade paperbacks. So I am.
You have less.
I am woefully behind on a lot of series these days. So hopefully I can catch up with some of these guys now that the trades are out, because that's much easier to burn through.
Yeah.
Camp Midnight from Stephen T. Siegel and Jason Katzenstein. It's a graphic novel, so hopefully pretty cool, kind of all-ages thing. This is one of my personal favorites here. Blue Monday, China Clungston Flores now. She's coming back. This is one of my favorite comics from the early 2000s. It's about a bunch of 80s mod girls and guys that are just out of high school. Total John Hughes comic. Like this, I love this. This is one of my absolute favorite books when it was coming out. Fortunately, it just wasn't coming out anything frequent, and then it just stopped.
Yeah.
So they're going to reprint her entire series, and then there's a new series coming up, as well as a new Scooter Girl series, which had one graphic novel, I believe it's just one, from Oni Press. So new stuff from that. I'm very excited for that stuff. I will get those for sure. We have another series here called Throwaways by Caitlin Kittredge, art by Steve Sanders. It seems Cold War, a lot of like old war, a lot of Russian Cold War
history stuff. I mean, I think it's there's an appeal to kind of.
It's like everyone writing comics now grew up on James Bond or something.
This is the thing: it's easier to write when technology is lower than shit.
Yeah.
Than it is to write like
sci-fi.
Think about it: if you went to write a romance, like a romance or something, and he has to go chase her at the airport, he technically can't go past the security gates, right? You know, if you're calling somebody, are you calling them or are you texting them? Like,
right.
You know, when you take the technology and tone it down a lot, it makes telling stories a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Because for the longest time in Hollywood, they had difficulty doing text messages like on screen.
I see a lot of movies now, or a lot of TV shows where they have the text appear on,
and it works perfectly, right? And you see it and you're reading it, and that's perfect. Before it used to be like they looked at it, it had to be this huge thing on the screen.
Yeah, it never really worked right.
So,
well, this looks like this series is about a number of assassins and spies who kind of get left out in the field, and then years later they try to bring it back in.
Throwaway was Cold War slang. It's on the thing for a deniable asset that it's a disposable assassin that's supposed to just die with their target.
Yeah. So. Sunset Park. This is by Ron Wimberly. This is a about New York's gentrification. So it seems odd topic for a comic book, but it seems kind of some weird. I like the art style. I'm looking at this here for the first time. A lot of these I've read, but this is one of the ones I didn't read up on. That's a cool art style. I don't have to look more into that. Slave Punk, also another book by Ron Wimberly, is.
Did you just add punk to anything to make it?
White coal. It's the story of how the genius slave defied the powerful King Cotton and ignited the Civil War in an attempt to end slavery. So, light subject matter there.
What was it? 12 Years a Slave? Just go watch that. Don't worry about reading Slave Punk.
Bryce's favorite, Simon Spurrier, is releasing a new book with Ryan Kelly, artist on Lucifer and Northlanders, called Cry Havoc. It's a journey to war-torn Afghanistan in the company of monsters, a London street musician savaged by a ghostly hound, and a terrified prisoner tangled in a folkloric insurrection.
What you just said, I paid no attention to. Like, you said Afghanistan, I'm like, okay, war, sticking, monsters, done.
Well,
like, it just...
Marvel and DC have always had these monster, these kind of monster war comics. They've had...
Well, okay, you can, I understand the concept of, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, of... the Frankenstein and the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah,
I understand these concepts
Creature Commandos.
Creature Commandos. I understand the concept of having, a werewolf and a Frankenstein and something else battling, BPRD, battling against the forces of the supernatural.
Yeah.
But you kind of have to keep your ideas simple. And when you go, I think you said Afghanistan, monsters, ghost dog, and something else. And I don't, it's too much.
Yeah.
Why don't you just throw in some vampires and aliens fucking in there? And I don't know.
Another, this should be,
at least he'll be taking his time away from writing Marvel books.
There you go. This is one I'm really excited for. Black Magic by Greg Rucka and Nicola Scott. I love Nicola Scott. Sad to see her leave DC, but I'm happy to see she's on a pretty
Her
cool...
art's amazing.
Oh, yeah, she's great. It's about a robbery homicide detective in the city of Portsmouth who's also a witch, and her personal life and faith start to...
Wait, didn't we already get one of those?
The barrier between those are sort of cracking.
What was that word?
Coffin Hill?
Coffin.
Yeah. Coffin Hill's good. I'm, again, woefully behind on it.
I stopped reading it.
I love it. I'm grabbing the trades.
It's okay. I kind of just stopped reading.
Yeah. I need to catch up on that one too. Crosswind by Gail Simone and Kat Staggs. There's not really any. Didn't really talk about much in it. It's a unremarkable housewife from Seattle and a suave, sharp hitman from Chicago switch lives, and we'll find out more about that when the book comes out.
Is that like wife swap?
More so. I don't think so, but maybe. The great quote from Gail Simone. This is the comic that might make Dr. Wortham come back from the dead to try to ban comics again. So I'm always looking forward to that.
Who?
Dr. Wortham. He was the one that created the Comic Code Authority, or was...
Oh, the one that led the witch hunts and...
He was
and
responsible.
Okay.
He was the one that was... At the end, responsible for the creation of the Comic Code Authority. Yeah,
I think I've seen images of like Senate hearings of him in like comic book documentaries.
Yeah.
He was like so anti those eerie and creepy and all that stuff. But okay,
that's him. Yeah. Jason Aaron and R.M. Guerra scalped team back together for The Goddamned. Before the... I gotta read this because it's a great one. Before the Great Flood, the world is filled with violence and wickedness. In just a couple thousand years, humanity has gone from a paradise to depravity and ruin. God is beginning to seriously regret having ever created man in the first place. And set in the world before the biblical flood. So I mean, it's Jason Aaron.
I'll check it out. Jason Aaron seems to be going down the Frank Miller road.
In what way?
He's starting to veer off towards God stuff, and because Frank Miller went that holy terror route.
Well, no, Frank Miller went total crazy right wing post 9/11. That Holy Terror is about Batman versus Al Qaeda.
Yeah,
DC wouldn't publish it, so he changed the character slightly. Yeah. Jason Aaron and Cameron Stewart also, this is an early Jason Aaron book published by Vertigo. Other Side is getting reprinted by Image, so that's kind of cool. Warren Ellis and Tula Latte are going to be doing a new... I should just say miniseries every time I hear Warren Ellis because it's always...
Miniseries? Try maybe 3 one-shots.
No, he'll do 6 issues, but yeah, not too much else. A female musician returns to northern England where her family owned a little cottage in the middle of a forest. She wrote her first album there, and she's going back to the countryside, as musicians used to write her next one. But the forest doesn't want her there. She's returning to face demons and put herself back together. But the forest remembers what she did, and the devil wants his due.
So is this what I remember what you did when you made your album last summer?
Maybe. Mark Miller and the way too talented to be working with Mark Miller, Raphael Albuquerque, is doing a book called Huck. I'm sure the movie will be in theaters in 2 years. The never-to-be reprinted in physical edition Private Eye is getting a deluxe hardcover by Brian K. Vaughan and Marcos Martin. So I hope you all gave your money to the digital copy, the version that would never have a print copy. Here's the print copy. Like I told you, there would be.
Like, that's how you make money, is you print the damn fucking thing.
Yeah. So, very excited for a new Brian K. Vaughan book.
Straight to graphic novel.
Glad I got a print. No, this was a digital copy. This is digital
they're doing
only.
It single?
No. This was a digital comic, never to be printed. Never to be printed. Never to be printed. Here's the print copy.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah. So,
but it's a graphic novel that's being released, right?
Yeah, straight to graphic novel. Yeah. So I'm sure people already read that. Possibly the most... I don't even know how to reply to this.
Hold on. If you understood that, then we're done.
Well, okay, so here's the problem. It's by Brian Lee O'Malley, so you instantly have a giant fan base for it. But the book is called Snot Girl, with artist Leslie Hung, and it's about a girl named Lottie who is a huge success. She's blog famous, so I already want to jump off a fucking building. Her online persona is flawless and fun, but her real life is full with woes. She has terrible allergies and just got dumped, and her blogger friends just don't understand her. Things turn around when Lottie instantly clicks with Caroline, a new girl on the scene, but she can turn chemistry into friendship, or will she ruin everything? All right, good luck with that one.
So
I will sell hundreds of copies
to no one.
No, to Brian Lee O'Malley fans, but I don't
This sounds like
even
something
know.
Tumblr wants.
I don't even know. Oh, they'll love it. It's blog famous. Steve Orlando and artist J.D. Faith doing a new queer exploitation movie, OGN, I'm sorry, called Virgil. Foxy Brown revenge style action. So that should be. Image doesn't do that many OGNs these days.
Who?
Image. They don't do a lot of original graphic novels. They don't.
No.
They don't do. They do a couple, maybe one a month.
I think.
But I feel like they used to do more.
I think original graphic novels is kind of a way to go, depending on the creative team. Like, if We Stand Guard came out as a graphic novel, you would probably sell a ton more of those by themselves than you will.
For We Stand Guard?
Yeah, We Stand Guard. Like you'd sell probably maybe more.
No. I'll sell as many trades as I'm ever going to sell. The single issues that's just profit. I mean, the single issues pay for itself, and the trades are just profit for Image. I mean, yeah, that's always the way it's going to work. I enjoy that DC does the Batman Earth 1 stuff, but a $25 price point's a lot harder than $4 for a lot of people. I'd sell a lot more $4 copies of a Jeff Johns Batman comic than I would a $25 hardcover. But, it's a different format, so I think I'll try everything. Hadrian's Wall. Hadrian's Wall?
I think it's Hadrian.
Hadrian's Wall. From the creators of Cowl for Image, Kyle Higgins, Alex Siegel, and Rod Reese. This comes a new psychological thriller where the secrets of everyone involved are as dark as the space that surrounds them. And this is based in 1983 as the United States and Soviet Union. I'm telling you, it's like everyone that wrote comics is the same age, and they're just like, we all remember...
They don't want to deal with having to make up technology.
No, we were all in the Cold War when we were kids, and this thing we're all afraid of. Like, everyone in their late 30s, like, this is the thing. So we're all the same age, and this is what everyone's book is based around. Very, very strange. So, lots of Cold War stuff.
Yeah.
Accend, difficult title to pronounce. Accend, like ascend, but Accend.
Accend?
By Shane Davis. This is Eric Morin's life revolves around gaming. He quickly finds himself locked against a vicious player only to realize the game, Accend, has carried over the real world with apocalyptic consequences. Sounds like a couple manga that'll come out recently. Or
sounds like non-player.
Sounds like non-player. Yeah. Sounds like, this is a common... The MMO becomes real life. This is a common thing. Faster Than Light by Brian... by Brian Haberlin. Introduces into an all-new interactive story experience, which I'm not sure how that works. I guess this comes with a free cutting-edge AR app, which makes it look like interactive holograms are coming out of the book. Hopefully better than the Marvel AR crap.
Where does it say that?
It says at the bottom of the thing here. In the near future, we discover the secrets of faster-than-light travel. Suddenly, the universe is wide open to us. But are we ready for it? With all the idealism of the original Star Trek and the grit and immediacy of Gravity, the story of humanity's first thrilling and terrifying adventures with the star take flight. I like stories like this, so I hope this is good. I don't need garbage app. Honestly, if you use the Marvel AR stuff on a regular basis...
They still do that?
Yeah, they still do. Let me know. I really want to know the usage rate on that stuff. If it's more than a couple hundred people a month, I would be surprised. When it first started, I knew a few people that did it occasionally, but I've never heard from anyone in the last year that has ever used it. So honestly, if you use this, email us or tweet me. thecomicconspiracy@geekbox.net.
Send you a note through the Marvel AR app?
Not like if you use it once or twice. If you use it regularly on every book you read from Marvel, maybe if you just read them digitally, it's like, I'll just use them and it's easier. But it's not like special feature stuff. Not a lot of people watch it, but maybe some people do. I don't know.
They don't even label the comics anymore.
I just can't picture most people use it very much. They still have. I swear, I still see it occasionally.
I
so.
see AR on like the little box on the bottom of a page sometimes.
Yeah.
I thought that thing died.
I don't know.
All right, next. Or it died, or the next title.
Yeah. Expired by Jimmy Robinson and Richard Pace. This is a very weird setup here, but I'll read the description. A homeless war vet ends up helping a ghost who is convinced, who is connected to an old coin-operated parking meter. He can only see and communicate with her as long as he feeds the meter. He has to solve the murder before the city replaces the meter with a modern version and before the killer finds him. But who is going to believe a homeless guy who looks like he's talking to himself? All right, a very weird premise, but hopefully it's interesting. Carrie Andrews, who did Spider-Man Reign and the more recent Iron Fist book, The 1%. They own more than half the world, and Renato Jones is going to even the score 1% at a time. I feel like Bryce should have read that. Joe Keating.
So does that mean he's going to do it very slowly?
Maybe. With Nick Barber for a World of Professional Wrestling comic called Ringside. The series explores artistry of performers rotating as cogs in the corporate machinery of an industry built to sell myth to the masses. I am just not a wrestling guy. Like, when I was a kid...
When we were younger, like, it was there, but the second you kind of realize it's fake, you're like...
people love it. I know so many people that love wrestling, and I don't know.
But
whatever.
The real violence is outside the ring.
Exactly. But whatever. So that's your 22 or 20, I think it's 21, new Image titles. So go sign up for all those at your local comic shop. I'm sure some of them will be out in the next 12 months at some point. And a lot of them will probably be waiting for, and we haven't even seen by the time the next Image Expo happens, because that's Image.
That was Southern Bastards.
Yeah, that's most of the books. I really have to say, I think the funniest thing about Image recently has been this is retailer crap, so most people probably don't know what I'm talking about here, but on Previews, which is their big monthly catalog, they've decided to take all the solicitation info out. They have key ones for like the number ones and the trade paperbacks. But everything else, they just have a cover art, and listing. And they've decided to put it not alphabetically, but by alphabetically per week by release date. So for the month, all the books that are coming out on that day. Except Image has one of the worst track records of books coming out. I mean, they're not as bad as like Dynamite, but they have a pretty terrible track record of books shipping late. So... they have all these books that are due June 3rd, June 9th, or whatever. None of these books are going to ship on that day. Like, so few of them will actually ship on that day. I don't know unless they have some weird new, everything will ship thing. It makes no sense. I have no idea why they do this. I don't know.
I think the best way to solicit stuff to people is give it to them in alphabetical order, give them an image, give them creator data, and give them a small little blurb about the book.
Yeah, even DC has really fucked up their solicitation stuff recently where they keep moving stuff around. Marvel's the worst, but Image is just as bad as Marvel now because they release as many books. Yeesh.
There was another piece of news.
What's that? From
this past week that you might actually start buying a magazine.
What's that?
It's Heavy Metal.
Oh, yeah.
New editor.
I forgot to say this. So here's the thing. So Grant Morrison has been named editor-in-chief of Heavy Metal. That's weird, but I can't imagine that's going to last too long, and I can't imagine he's going to do too much stuff for it. Morrison's in a weird place right now, I feel, where he's jumping from little project to little project and not sticking around. I can't see him sticking with Heavy Metal for very long.
Yeah,
that's weird.
I can see him doing Heavy Metal if he has something in the book, like he has something coming out.
He's supposed to.
So, like, I can see it there. Like, if he can release his own, and this becomes kind of his publication, how he publishes his stuff, and he doesn't have to go and farm 18 days out to graphic India.
Yeah, there was talk of him doing stuff with Fraser Irving in it. So I don't know. I read Heavy Metal when I was a kid. These days I don't. Heavy Metal is a non-entity these days. I don't know. I mean, I get maybe it's still popular in certain places. I have no clue, but
You don't order any for...
We haven't ordered for years. I have no one that's ever asked for it. Older issues occasionally, like people will ask about, but nothing current. And I think that...
Now, with the first issue that with him as editor-in-chief, will you get that?
No. I mean, unless people ask for it. Well, and with Heavy Metal, too, there's... The older stuff gets reprinted. They had some really good creators in the 70s and the 80s, but the stuff these days, I don't know the audience, what the audience for that book is. A lot of European stuff gets reprinted in that. A lot of kind of that style, and I mean they must. It comes out a couple times. I think it's quarterly now. I mean it's not monthly. I'm pretty sure it's quarterly now.
Well, they went to every 2 months, and they might have gone to quarterly.
It might be bi-monthly now, but
because I remember it saying like July, August on the or. Here's September, October's issue. Here's November, December's issue.
Don't quote me on this, but I think it went quarterly.
It could have.
I'll have to go look because I feel like I don't see it very often. It may be bi-monthly still, but I want to say I thought I went quarterly. Anyway, that's cool. I'll buy the trades of the stuff when it comes out, I guess. I mean, I don't know the audience. I don't know what the audience for Heavy Metal is these days. I mean, Kevin Eastman sold it. He left last year, 2013 maybe. So I think the new owners are just trying to find something to do. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. Well, that's Image Expo. Go sign up for some of those books. Got a handful of emails here. I want to read a couple of these, and we got a shitload of questions on Twitter. I'll get through what I can. This is from Thomas. He says, I've only been listening to the show for a few months, so maybe I'm out of the loop with regards to the show's opinions of Kelly Sue DeConnick. But why are the show's hosts so dismissive of her? I think she has creative peaks and valleys like any other writer, but the podcast outright dismissed her on the last show, and I'm curious how she burned them. I believe that's when we were talking about...
It was the Marvel... It
was either about being excited for the new Captain Marvel, or when we were talking about the Captain Marvel Core book. It was one of those two. I'm not sure which... When we were so dismissive, but one of those two. We were talking about one of those.
It was when we were talking about the new Cap Carol book, and you were like, "Yes, it's going to be awesome because Kelly Sue DeConnick is not on it."
Maybe. She's always been terribly nice at cons, and Bitch Planet is killer stuff. So where's the smoking gun? Osborn was good. Oh, that miniseries! I forgot about that. Captain Marvel alternates between fun and just okay. I wonder what you guys think. Now, Brock, I don't know. I don't know what your history with her is.
I read issue 1 of Bitch Planet.
Yeah.
Saw that people already got tattoos of Bitch Planet on them, and was like, I do not need to read this comic anymore.
Have you read any of her Captain Marvel? Or
no.
Okay. So...
the helmet's what lost me. Well, it's Captain Marvel, I would like to go read the Miss Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
Like from
her previous stuff.
Her previous stuff that I want to go read that series because I hear there's great things about it. The new stuff...
Yeah, Brian Reed was the writer of the original. So, I think Mark Guggenheim co-wrote some of that, or other people were involved in that. I don't think he wrote the thing start to finish, but that was a good series.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard good things about it, and if I get a chance or it gets collected completely, I'll go back and like an ultimate collection type things. I'll go back and read it. But
I'm sure it will once the movie's on its way or something.
The art was atrocious part of it was the art was atrocious in that book, and I read through a little bit, and it just didn't click with me. Like
Miss Marvel, her
writing does not. Certain writers have the ability to carry a story with dialogue and carry a story through in narration, and really great writers do a combination of both. Her dialogue is horrid.
Yeah.
And what happens in the story is, I don't care about this character at all. I mean, I think in the first issue, she's on Earth, and then she shoots up in the sky, and then she's back on Earth again, and that's it. It felt like I was watching the Green Lantern movie. I know. I had to get one in.
Just roll my eyes.
So for me, I haven't had... I haven't exposed myself to a lot of her work, but the stuff that I have read, I didn't care for at all. Yeah, and again, she's married to Mac Fraction. And his stuff is garbage now to me.
Yeah, that is one of the things that kind of initially turned me off from her. Was I called myself a Matt Fraction fan after Iron Fist. I was not too aware of him prior to that. I'm not sure what he did. I'm sure he did other stuff. But Matt Fraction, after that, I was like, oh, wait, it's actually not Matt Fraction. It's Ed Brubaker is the driving force here. And Fraction, almost everything I've read by him just has not clicked with me.
His Invincible Iron Man, about the time when the movie came out, where he was
peaks and valleys,
but it was solid up until Fear itself.
He had a pretty decent run on that book, and then the book just completely shit the bed. And then after that,
it went shit the bed right when Fear itself happened.
Yeah, and Hawkeye to me.
Wait, that's not even done yet. So can you really have an opinion?
I mean, I read a couple issues, and that's all I've read. Hawkeye to me is just the worst fucking hipster garbage comic.
Well, I hated the Russian bullshit, translated from just give me brackets.
Nah, there's stuff going on in that comic. In the first, again, I only read the first few, but no interest in reading the rest. Now, I mean, I don't hate her. I don't hate her either. I don't dislike her work because of him. But I'm trying to give some context. So they're married. There is some similarity in their writing style, clearly. When she came on, I never read that Osborn comic. That was just some Osborn miniseries.
Yeah.
When she kind of came on to Captain Marvel, I really liked the Miss Marvel comic, and they were turning to Captain Marvel, and I was pretty excited. And I had no real basis comparison prior to this. I thought the first issue was awful, just awful. And to me, on kind of outside just the physical writing of the comic, and the Carol Core concept seems just. It's just a tough sell for me. I can't...
Because it's a grounded Green Lantern Corps?
No, it has nothing to do with that. It's this sort of weird... This is a case where I think the fans really, really kill any interest I have in this character. This entire Carol Core concept to me feels just bizarrely forced in, and some weird...
Isn't that the name of the official fan group?
It's some weird internet thing turned, internet fanfic turned official. It's like a weird-ass concept. So Captain Marvel, again, I read a couple issues, came back once or twice, tried to read one of the crossover issues, didn't work. Tried the new number one, I just thought, poor dialogue, poor characterization, bad storytelling across the board, terrible art. That didn't help either. I thought when she did some independent stuff, I was like, okay, let's see what else she did. So I tried Pretty Deadly. Maybe the most incomprehensible...
I read the first issue of that.
I read two. Maybe the
You
most
read more than I did.
Incomprehensible comic I've ever read. Beautiful, gorgeous art. Love the art on that series, but holy hell, that comic was nonsense nothing, right? Bitch Planet probably is the best thing she's written, and that's not saying much because it's very generic. It's very, okay, men suck and we imprison all the women. And it's this bizarre, feminist exploitation, anti-exploitation comic. And it just doesn't... It has its audience. Totally understandable. You like it. Totally cool. Not for me. It is, like I said, probably the best thing that I've read that she wrote. But it's still nothing I have any interest in, nor anything I would recommend. Yeah. So, I'm not everyone's into everything. Sticking specifically with female creators, it's not like she's as bad as Ann Nocenti, who is just a terrible writer. Well, and I feel bad because Ann Nocenti used to do some good comic work.
The thing is, for her, she did The Race of Thieves in Catwoman. And that started to get a little bit better after that whole underground stuff.
Yeah.
But then it's she just dropped the ball, and it's...
Yeah, there are really good writers, men and women. There are really bad writers, men and women. I don't think Kelly Sue DeConnick is necessarily a bad... Well...
You're dismissive of her because statistically her books have not impressed you enough to...
I am not a fan, but I would not... generally say she is a bad writer. She's mostly just not for me. I've read much worse, but I think she's very average to below average, yet gets treated like a superstar, and that's the confusing thing to me. And that's all I have to say, which is probably way too much, but there you go. Thank you for the email, Thomas. But if
Thomas is happy we just talked about it a lot longer than Kelly Sue DeConnick.
But here's the great thing: you like Kelly Sue DeConnick? Awesome.
Go for it.
So do tens of thousands of other people. So
one of the biggest.
I'm an idiot. Trust me.
One of the weirdest looks I get from people is when I'm people are asking for suggestions, and I tell them what I don't like.
Yeah.
And I give them like my brutally honest opinion of things. I statistically have people come back more often than not happier that I was honest with them about something, and they bought it anyway and tried it.
The mistake that I see in comic shops a lot, and from our opinion, is, oh, you like this thing? I don't. It's bad.
Yeah.
And I will never say that. I will say, you've asked me my opinion. If it's someone I know in shop, I'll be like, okay, I don't like this. I could be a little more blunt about it.
Yeah,
I think this is shit. Yeah. But if it's a random person, like, I don't know Thomas here, and I will say, look, here is my experience with this character, or with this writer, with her books, or with anyone. I don't enjoy it, but I understand the fandom. I understand why people like it. If you do, if you still like it, here is other things that you may also like, you know? So if you like her stuff, check out Pretty Deadly. Check out, that Osborn miniseries, because I don't think a lot of people read that. Not for me, but I love Jeff Johns. Maybe comics' #1 hated character or creator on the internet. People hate Jeff Johns. They blame him for basically ruining DC. And Dan Didio for ruining DC for the last decade. He's my favorite comic writer. I mean, of current comic writer. So I totally am. Not. I don't care. If you hate me because I like Jeff Johns, well, I don't know what to say about that. I know plenty of people that love Kelly Sue DeConnick. I just count them among friends and acquaintances. Yeah. So whatever. Not everyone likes everything. But I think here, I don't think she has a lot of fans on the podcast. So that's it. That's it.
She's not.
It's not like Rob Liefeld or something like that, where you can just kind of make fun of him, right? Or now Arthur Suydam. So
she hasn't reached that level yet.
Liefeld's getting off light because Suydam's going to be the new
God. All right, next email.
Another email from Brian Wilson. No relation.
Wilson.
Yeah, no relation. Says, after you talked a bit last week, this was probably last week, about
what's the date on the email?
Yesterday.
Okay, so it is last week.
Yeah. About a possible future of digital comics, I was wondering what you think of the future of mail-order comics is. I know it's not for everyone, but if you know what you're looking for, it could be a good deal. And why I wanted to talk about this, two reasons I wanted to mention this, but this first part, he says, for example, I see you, meaning us, the store, will mail a bundle of the DC Bombshell variants, but it's a lot cheaper through dcbservices.com. Some context of my experience, mycomicshop.com was just the website for my local shop before they sold their physical location to become the web-only store. Yeah, my comic shop was is that Lone Star?
Lone Star Comics
they had a couple locations.
Yeah, they had a couple locations, and then I think they've
shut down, or they sold them all, right?
No, I think they have 2 locations, actual locations still, but the My Comic Shop is just the online stuff.
Right.
So they got rid of some storefronts to get a warehouse, basically.
The in-store customer experience got worse under new ownership with a merry-go-round of new employees every month that weren't up to speed. I've seen that before. With DCB services in DC Comic, or ads, sorry, with the ads in DC Books, I found a cheaper alternative that took away the headache of frustrating store experience. Thanks for your time. Love the show. Thanks, Brian. So, DCB services, Discount Comic Book Services, or in-stock graphic novels, in-stock trades, either of those sites, they are not competition for comic book stores. They are the Amazon, the Walmart, the Target of online comic stores. They've run on a razor-thin profit. It's about 5 to 7% is what they make whenever they sell a book. That's not feasible in any way, shape, or form for a physical comic book store to rely on. Even the heavy discounting that went on in comic shops previously has mostly stopped. There are still various shops out there that do big discounts, but they are fewer and farther between.
Just like, so there's fewer whale stores.
True. Right, there is. Right. If mail order is perfectly cool. We get a handful of people that mail order from us. We can send out the Bombshell variant bundles, but I can't in a million years match those prices because I'm basically giving away the comic for free at that point.
Yeah.
But if you prefer to use them, use them. Some people like coming into the shop. Some people want to mail order through us. Some people use them. Some people use Midtown.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some of our mail order guys for going on
couple years now.
4 years.
Yeah. We got a small group of mail order guys. Again, same thing. Money is very important. I totally understand. If you want to get the most bang for your buck, a place like DCB Services or In Stock Graphic Novels, I mean, that's hard to beat. Those are really good deals. Short of just downloading them illegally, those are really good deals. It's just not feasible for most comic book stores. Like I said, they're operating on such a small profit that that's not competition. Just like Amazon's not competition for a small mom and pop bookstore or the liquor store at the front of the center here. It's you're going to get a different audience there than you would in the shop. I often base a lot of my experience around what I see in store, and I find there's usually a vast difference between opinions in store and kind of the in-store experience and the kind of meta talk around comics, if you will, versus online.
We're getting all trading card game and shit up
the metagame. But there's often a very different conversation being had online than in store. And it's just because it is a different audience, a different group of people, and they have different experiences and different hopes. I'll occasionally check out like NeoGAF or Reddit or 4chan or something like that and go into the comic sections just to kind of see what's going on. And what will be perceived as common discussion or common knowledge, kind of in jokes or things like that, and that there are like 180 degrees from what's in the comic store.
Yeah.
I'm always curious about the online community versus the in-store community. They're very different beasts.
Well, I think that looking at the online community, even our online community here, with Comics Conspiracy, is that most people are very, cordial, nice. Same thing with in-store. Yeah. But, it's what are they really talking about all the time? They're asking general questions about what's going on right now.
Right.
Right. We're having most of the discussions in store and online seem to kind of rotate around kind of a theme of what would have been in Wizard magazine this month.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but you're going to get people that are talking about, there used to be a section in Wizard that was all anime stuff. I wouldn't look at that section, right? But people are talking about anime on comic stuff because it's part of what, connected to comics. But if they're the ones that are talking about it at the time, that's what you're going to see. Because a lot of those places do like list stuff based on popularity at the time or...
Well, I mean more like just the general discussion threads where a certain character or a certain book is regarded as popular, which in a lot of cases goes against any sort of actual sales chart info. Or Captain Marvel's a perfect example. That's a poor selling comic for Marvel for a very long time, yet a rabid community exists and a rabid fan base. Now, is it just the 10,000 people that bought it?
What I would like to see is the illegally downloaded numbers for Captain Marvel.
and you've hit on the nail there. Right, because it's 10,000 people talking about Captain Marvel on Tumblr, the only 10,000 people that actually buy it, or is that all? There are a lot of that going on, which is very likely. It's such a different audience. And as far as to kind of swing back a little bit here to what Ryan was talking about, what do I think the future? Mail order's always been around. It'll always continue. It'll always happen. They can get away with cheap prices, so I don't think anything's going to change. Yeah. Again, we are a bar for nerds. This comic shops are a place. I'm
telling you, I am opening a comic shop with a bar in it.
No, the problem then is you get drunks in. You don't want drunks. You just want nerds.
I can deal with drunks. I was about.
I don't know if nerds can deal with drinks. I don't know if nerds can deal with drinks.
I can't. I can't deal with angry nerds.
You've seen Omar and Bryce in this podcast. I don't think they can deal with their alcohol.
Oh no, I can deal with those guys. It's the nerds that Hulk out when they drink.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Yeah. So these will always exist. They'll always be there, and they're going to be the comic shop price every time.
I mean, our mail order guys, stick with us because we provide a service to them. They seem to enjoy it, so on and so forth. I mean, we offer free shipping on what
Everything over $25.
Everything $25. So for us, that's
throw in some free swag.
Yeah, they got all of our mail order guys got a little bundle bag of all the free DC stuff that came out.
Yeah.
So I mean, it just depends on what you're looking for out of your comic ordering experience.
I drive often 30 miles to go to a Thai restaurant that's here in Sunnyvale from where I live in San Jose. I'm sure I could find another Thai restaurant in San Jose, but I really like this Thai restaurant that's in Sunnyvale. Sometimes you're willing to drive 30 miles.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I've told the story. I feel like I've told the story in the podcast before. We had a guy.
This is the new podcast. Go ahead.
Who's been a customer here for a very, very, very long time. Didn't get a ton of stuff, but got a good amount of stuff. Liked the store. Liked everyone here. We were all friendly. He said, "Oh, I'm going to have to shut down my box. I'm moving." We're like, "Oh, that's unfortunate. We do mail order if you want to still get your stuff. If you can't find a shop." He's like, "No, there's another store where I'm going to be. I can't come here anymore." I'm like, "Okay, where are you moving?" Campbell. Campbell is the next town over. And I will not name the store. The store is horrible. I'm not going to say any comic store in this area is horrible. However, this isn't a comic book store. It is a store that has comics, and it is horrible. And if you're local, you know who I'm talking about. Huh?
Yeah.
And if you're local, you know who I'm talking about. Various people at that store, including the manager, have been arrested for dealing in stolen merchandise before.
Oh,
so this is a bad shop. And he's like, "Yeah, I don't really like it, but it's close to my house, so I'm going to go there." It's like, "But you could drive literally 10 more minutes and get to here." It's close to my house, so I'm just going to shop there. I was baffled, but for some people, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
It's the closest thing. So, all right. I haven't seen him since. Good luck. If you're listening to the podcast, say hello. Come in sometime. But
tell us how your experience has been.
For some people, that's it. Everyone's got. Different things.
I think it's one of those things where you being in a relationship with no kids, it's a little bit easier for you to say, "I'm going to drive 30 minutes to go here." When somebody maybe has a family or like very strict routine and stuff like that.
Excuses.
No, I'm not saying they're excuses, but depending on routine, it might be he's forced to do that. It might not be something he likes, but he's forced to do that. In a case like that. But it's a case by case thing. You've had people that have moved to different states and still have a pull list here.
Oh yeah.
And they sometimes come in and pick it up. Sometimes we mail it out to them. "Yes, Trip, I just packaged up yours today. It's on your way. Should be on its way tomorrow."
All right. So we hit a couple emails there. So
woohoo!
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Do we have any Twitter questions?
We do. We got all sorts of Twitter questions.
Sweet.
Let me grab one of these here. Got one from Stefano. Speaking of mail order customers,
mail order. Good God! Half the time he challenges my packing skills.
With the stark contrast in the comic market sale numbers between DC and Marvel in June, is it a statement of convergence or the DC's new universe? So June was interesting because the DC comics were fully returnable, but Marvel still huge numbers, and part of it is Secret Wars.
Well, it's Secret Wars. It's the variants. It's titles that
yeah.
Korvac Saga, Infinity Gauntlet.
Well, it was Amazing Spidey one.
The
Den Slott, Renew Your Vows.
Yeah.
Between Secret Wars 4 and that, they had some ridiculous numbers. And and I'm wondering, because Justice League America actually came 4th place, I think. I don't have the list in front of me, but it came much lower than I thought. I thought that was going to be number 1 and number 2 of the month. Because again, fully returnable if you order a lot. I'm betting a lot of stores probably went, well, I'm putting so much money into the Marvel stuff. The DC stuff's returnable if I order a shitload, but I'm not going to even bother.
Yeah, and they just ordered low.
I'm assuming a lot of stores ordered low, which is unfortunate because I definitely sold more of some of these books than I would have had I ordered them like I would have normally without returnability. So my hope is that some of these books may actually see a bit of an uptick. It's possible they won't, but I think there's some solid books. The vast majority of them didn't sell great, but some of them sold very well. Mm-hmm. So, DC had a great opportunity with New 52, and it kind of it didn't last. Marvel's I don't want to see DC chasing Marvel's tail, though. Just DC, do what you want. It's nice to see DC on top of the market share and unit share, but at the end of the day...
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's what Marvel is doing what DC did. Marvel is doing now what DC did 4 years ago.
Well, so with Marvel, there tends to be less of a... it's a different audience than who's reading DC, and it tends to be less of a...
Educated?
No.
Well, these are people that think, the Avenger or the Justice League is just the Marvel's Avengers.
Sure. It tends to be less of a loyal crowd recently. Marvel's chasing a very different audience with their books. They're chasing variant collectors. They're chasing, not for every book, but a lot of them. And you've seen it with Secret Wars. And they've a lot of the older fans and a lot of more traditional Marvel fans, much like DC with the New 52, have not enjoyed this current stuff. No. I hear pretty vocally from a number of people that I know personally.
You were telling me about one of our subscribers basically going, I don't know if I can finish the Secret Wars stuff.
Oh yeah. So, but we're going to see, with the new Marvel #1s again, it's going to be huge. But take out the gimmicks, take out the variant covers. What are the numbers on these books? Strip out the events, strip out the variant covers, and I mean, you kind of can't because that's what this is. But there's this idea of event fatigue where if you keep doing this and you keep doing this, and if you keep chasing that big burst, if you keep relaunching, will it break at some point? And we've seen some of the cracks because you have Civil War, you have House of M, you have Civil War, then you have a couple things that just didn't click right, and you saw some pretty low numbers from Marvel. And they built Secret War up into this.
You had Secret Invasion. You had
you build up to AVX, which was just huge.
Yeah.
And then they read All Marvel Now and All New Marvel Now, and you have this huge launch, and then numbers on a lot of the books just plummet. Okay, well, let's try it again, and now you have Secret Wars, and the numbers are good, but for us, they're way better than they were normal.
Yeah, but your number twos and threes are dropping like flies.
Some of them. They're still on average. Our Secret War numbers are up higher, but that's because people are invested in the event. And you'll get a huge launch with the #1 Marvels. But come 3 or 4, those numbers are going to be soft on a lot of these titles. So you're seeing these gigantic spikes from Marvel and drop. A gigantic spike from Marvel and drop.
It's kind of like they're trying to paddle. Clear.
Well, where DC is like, big spike, long level out process.
Yeah.
Big spike, long level out process. And maybe it's just Disney. Maybe this is what Disney wants. Maybe this is what Marvel wants. I don't know. Because, the guys buying the variant covers, the guys buying Scotty Young covers are not traditional comic readers. It's a different crowd. No, I'm not saying they're not comic readers. They're not traditional.
No, they're
readers.
like deviant art people. They're people who like an artist and like, oh my god, their art is somewhere I can get it tangibly.
Or they're collectors of Scotty Young.
Yeah,
a lot of these people are collectors of Scotty Young and the variants, and they are again. And we are now seeing what we've seen in comics, where you have not 100,000 people that all buy the same books. You have a couple millions of people that buy 2 to 3 titles a month. It's a vast, weird segment of individual books becoming this kind of cult phenomenon that used to happen only once in a while. It's happening with like every book across the board now. So these pocket groups that are into one title, and Marvel and Scotty Young and some of their books have kind of managed to do that. I think DC had an opportunity and they didn't follow through quite enough with the New 52. And I think they're just getting drowned out with their new books because of Secret Wars, because of the Marvel relaunch. Yeah. So for DC, if I have a message, it's just stay that course, because
stay on target.
You're going to hit it when Marvel's blip comes down.
Yeah.
There's no point of DC doing anything.
No.
And that's why I think maybe they're launching some of these new miniseries in January, because by January we're going to be potentially in issue 3 or 4 of a lot of these new Marvel comics. And that's when we're going to see those drops. And it's not, Marvel goes from, big lead up to this. So they have a good year of 6 months of Secret Wars, 6 months of new Marvel. But unless they're relaunching again, you're done. I mean, they're not going to do this again at this level in a year. So it'll be very curious. Next year, the sales charts are going to be very interesting because Marvel stuff will soften. It always does. It always happens. It's always going to happen. But the problem is you used to 100,000 for number 1, 75,000 for number 2, and you level at 40,000. Now it's like 150,000 for number 1, 35,000 for number 2 because of those variant covers. Because it's such a vast, strange audience.
It's an inflated
isn't
market.
Actually there for the long term.
It's an inflated market. I mean, we've with Loot Crate, we've seen the numbers, 5.
Well, that's a total.
And so you go. Issue 1 of Orphan Black had...
No, but those are fake numbers. Those numbers should not even be in Diamond's charts. They are sold, yes. But Diamond doesn't, deal with convention variants. They don't there's no reason Loot Crate numbers are in the Diamond chart. I mean, I guess it's cool to see those books shoot up like that, but it's not actual sales. It's sales, but it's not actual sales.
It's not comic book shop sales.
That is not traditional sales. Yeah, I mean, the fact that there's 500,000 people buying Loot Crate, holy hell.
It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Like,
it's ridiculous. It's actually probably, I think the most recent one was up to almost 600,000.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't get it.
I don't have the money to stay on it. I enjoyed getting it when I got it, because to me it was the 2 boxes I got were okay. It was cool. Had some interesting stuff in it. I gave the T-shirt to my girlfriend.
Yeah.
You're right. I didn't want to, some of the stuff I didn't want to keep, some of the stuff I wanted to keep. So to me, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I don't like this, but I know somebody who does. I can just, it's kind of like, here's a nice little present for you.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I might get back on Loot Crate at some point, but I mean, who knows?
Loot Crate's weird. Joshua Redding asks, what creator leaving Marvel will have the biggest impact? Hickman, Karen Gillan, or Rick Remender? I'd say Hickman for sales, Rick Remender for just output. Karen Gillan, I don't think, is a loss. But, Marvel lost some of their big creators, so they're all going over to Image. I'd say Hickman. Of all those, I'd say Hickman.
Yeah, I mean, Remender, I can understand why he left. I mean, they were working him a lot. I mean, even a few years ago when I saw him in Image Expo, he just looked beat.
Joshua also asks, why is Marvel so unconcerned about trade paperback sales when they make up so much of Image and DC's core business? I have no idea. In fact, actually, our Marvel sales have been really good this the last 18 months or so.
Well, that's because you're selling Captain Marvel trades and Hawkeye trades. And
it's a little of everything. I mean, we're not moving like 20, 30, 40 copies. We're mostly a single issue store. So when I say we're selling well, I'm saying 2 or 3. But you have to compare that to 0 before. Yeah. Like literally 0 of almost any Marvel trade.
The only reason, like the Ant-Man that just came out,
yep.
I bought one and I sold one to somebody else the same day.
Yeah.
So, but that's because it's something I enjoyed. I'm not buying the Thor trades. I really enjoyed Jason Aaron's Thor, but I'm not buying the trades because I'm waiting for the omnibus.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's the best price point.
Yeah.
The $20 or $25 for 5 issues on a trade. That's stupid.
Joshua asked one more question. I wonder.
Man, Joshua's got a lot.
Yeah. And I was actually thinking about this the other day. I was going to post something on Twitter, but I didn't. He said, "What's the first Image property we'll see a movie of?" My vote is for Lazarus. I actually was thinking about this the other day. Because every single Image comic has been optioned for a movie or a TV show, and almost none of them, like so few of them, have been made. Apparently there's a Dark Matter TV show based on the Dark Horse comic.
Yeah, my father-in-law watches it.
Which I heard
he actually likes it.
Okay, but like, what else has come out?
Who read Dark Matter?
Huh?
Who read Dark Matter?
Well, what else has come out in recent years based on an independent comic? Like, I'm not like you had Tank Girl and you had Dread and you had all that early stuff. But I'm talking last 10 years. A comic released in the last 10 years that got a movie or TV show based on
World?
it. That was way more than 10 years ago.
Was that 10 years ago? Over 10 years ago?
Ghost World? It was like early 90s.
Wanted?
You're right. The Mark Miller shit, which is just it's just movies. I mean, these are not comic books. These are, be very aware of this. Mark Miller's comics
are not comics. They are storyboards shrunken down and printed on crappier paper.
At this point, he already has all these movies in the work. They just say, "Give us the script."
Huck, you're going to see in theaters in 2018. Right?
Oh yeah, of course, right. I mean, there's not even a question. So these are not comic books. These are movies. But outside of Mark Miller,
why are we blanking on this?
There hasn't been many. That's what I'm saying. There have been some that have come out, but they're based on older stuff. that's older than 10 years at this
Is
point.
it older 10 years?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not too...
It's very few. Very few. Yeah. So I have no idea.
Lazarus.
None.
I could see Lazarus. I could see The Fade Out. I could see anything by Brubaker. Anything by Rucka. I know Outcast is supposed to be a TV show.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Walking Dead. Right. I mean, obviously.
Yeah. Well,
I meant outside of Walking Dead. Let me rephrase that. Because Walking Dead was what caused this modern
Walking Dead
everything to be licensed.
Walking Dead caused it about 6 years ago. Caused this
right, and that's what I mean. Like
wanted added to it with the movies and that's why Mark Miller's stuff is just the storyboard comic books. It's Chew was optioned.
Nothing came of it. Everything. Peter Panzer Files.
Oh, Thief of Thieves.
Nothing came of it.
Nothing came of it. It's one of those things where, but that's the thing. Hollywood knows that comic books provide potential stories for them to translate over to another media.
Yeah.
And they can make a lot of money if it's a successful transition.
Right.
Batman, Walking Dead.
Right.
It's Hollywood kind of, instead of dealing with we've talked about doing American Gods for 15 years.
Yeah.
Now it's more of, what are you reading? What's cool? Let's try and option it now. That way that there's not this back and forth bullshit.
Right.
That they're just boom getting in there so they have something to possibly do.
I got one last question. Let me see. I got two last questions here. Then we'll hit up our Patreon people here. Let's see. We had Marco Lasek says, if the 90s was all about the artists, and the 2000s had writers as king, where do you think the pendulum is currently sitting? And my belief, I don't know, Brock, if you agree with this as well, my belief is that it is creator, not writer or artist, just creator.
Yeah, I think everybody's kind of melded, especially in comic books, kind of formed into this creator title. Jim Lee is a comic book artist. But I view him as a creator more so than an artist now.
They're all creators, and what's happened is Image in the independent comics have had such a boom in the last number of years that they are all names. Yeah. We're never going to see the likes of a Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, J. Scott Campbell kind of boom again. Unlikely anytime soon, because that type of comic art is not as in vogue as it was. But we're not going to get the pure writer boom of an Alan Moore, Neil Gaiman, Grant Morrison kind of all in a year or a couple year time period, because people are coming at this from outside. They're coming at, we're getting creators from Hollywood, from books,
TV,
to do comics, from TVs and movies, and vice versa, and opposite, we're getting them going outwards. It's become a very different audience. Brian Lee O'Malley, Scott Pilgrim, maybe kind of one of the last big ones to kind of come in and but even that, he's been doing stuff for a decade. A lot of the people coming in now are coming from alternate means, a lot of webcomic guys, but they're all creator first, and Marvel and DC kind of have to struggle to keep up with the independent stuff and the webcomics and everything, because they're in a very different position than they used to be.
So, well, I think it's artists or artists, writers, creators overall have a little bit more say than they do now.
A lot more,
because you might do something.
Well, the internet has even the playing field.
Yeah, I mean, you might do some great work on an independent book, and Marvel snatches you up to do a series, and you're like, I'm not happy with you. The way you're treating me, I can just go do whatever the fuck I want. And Marvel's like, no, stay, because we know you sell books.
Well, that's why all the people are leaving and continue to leave Marvel and DC after, they do some stuff, they get hired by Marvel and DC, they become big names, and they leave to do their own projects.
Sounds like there's a guide to making more money in the comic book industry, work for a little while, leave, saying I hate you.
That's always what's happened, though.
Right.
All of it. And you're fooling yourself if you think this isn't what always happens. These guys come in, do their own comics. Marvel and DC snatch them up. They become big names. They say, fuck you, Marvel and DC. They go off and do their own thing. This happens since the dawn of time.
How much does Morrison get paid to come back to DC?
There's no reason for him to, because he can make some money on everything. This happened all the way back to Jack Kirby. This happened to Neil Adams. This happened to all the guys in the 80s and 90s, and Jim Lee. And then you get bought up corporate, right? I mean, like Jim Lee. So it's just always what happens. All right, we've got to wrap up. We are running.
Questions,
it's way more, but we are running way long.
I thought you had one more.
No, we're wrapping up now.
Oh,
we are way over the time.
That last person's not going to know who it is.
There's a couple of you. We got some good questions, but I'll try to read some of them next week. We have to thank some Patreon people before we get out of here. It's that time of the month again. Albert Soy.
That's what she said.
Jody Lawson. Don't forget to check out the Canon, the Triad Comics Anthology at triadcomicstudios.com. Go check out. He worked in a store, and now he's writing a comic book, so good job. And Julian Titus at the Nerds Without Pants podcast at pixelbit.com, pixlbit.
I wonder if those guys are going to go watch Pixels.
Only because I thought it was so. I occasionally laugh at my own jokes, and this one made me laugh. There's always this big anti-abortion sign over by our house on the road up to our house. And a couple weeks ago, I looked up, and it was replaced with a Pixels billboard. And of course, it's right across from Planned Parenthood as well. And I just thought, I don't know what's worse. I really don't. I mean, one's anti-abortion, which is pretty terrible. The other is a Pixels billboard. That's pretty much the worst thing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Could be.
But that'll go away soon enough. Anti-abortion will always be there. So don't forget Julian Titus. And the Nerds Without Pants podcast, where I'm sure they don't talk about abortion. We have lots of we got all sorts of people to thank here, including a few new people here at the end. Thank you all. If you would like to hear your name on this podcast and hear me butcher your last name like I do every month, every single one of these guys, you can go to patreon.com/comic conspiracy or just do a Google search. I'm sure it'll be on there, and you can donate some money to us. Helps pay for hosting, pay for the pizza before the podcast. No pizza this week, saving some cash. And all the other random crap we do here.
We just lost somebody going, I do this for the pizza, man. No longer donating.
Do it all for the pizza. Edgar Moreno, Kevin Nguyen, David Chica, Wesley Thone, Scott Cross X Hunters and now. Always talking to him on Twitter. Mike Campbell, David Safar, Stephen Dixon, Christopher Noyes, Alex McHale, Joel Jimenez, Armando Testani, Ivan Leskanik, Jason Thomas, Michael, not the filmmaker Moore. Unfortunately, if it was Michael Moore, he could hopefully give us much more money. Not that I don't like the money that Michael Moore gives us. I'm just saying the other Michael Moore is very rich. Christopher Eblasic, Matthew Schnapp, Robert Degenham, and just Sloan.
Okay.
Sloan.
Now, Sloan, if it's Sloan from Entourage, cool. I think we should do a Patreon level where you record somebody, you're the answering machine that somebody hears when they call somebody's cell phone.
Oh, God.
You have reached.
Anyone want
you
that?
have reached, and you butcher their name when they say it.
Just me stuttering with some horrible butchering of their name and saying a bunch. I mean, I guess if you really want that.
I mean, just think about it. Somebody might want you to say their name.
Really don't. They really don't.
They could tell. They could say. They can make requests like, "We want it in a chipmunk voice."
Oh, fuck! Jesus Christ! No. You
only have to do it once.
No. All right, thank you everyone for listening.
That's not fun.
Oh no, it's horrible.
So you're just completely forgetting about it. You didn't decide this today what you were going to tell us about.
Oh, you're talking about the book club. So, no, I'm not announcing my book club pick here. So, we've been doing this book club for a while here, and if you may have noticed in the past couple months, there's definitely been a bit of trouble
around the table. When it's you and me, it normally goes very smoothly, and then we get to the other end of the table, it starts to get a little wonky.
We've had trouble getting this done monthly. We are going to continue the book club. I should say, Charlie's not here. His family's getting back in town. Next week we're going to do, I said this week, but I didn't realize this was the week Charlie was going to be out. I mean, I knew he was going to be out. We just didn't realize it was the same week. So we are going to continue to do the book club, yes. However, it will not be strictly monthly. we're basically just going to do it when we can, and once everyone's read the book, we will then discuss it.
It's about 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks down.
My plan is the end of the month. So if for some reason guys can't make it next week because of Comic-Con and everything like that, we'll probably just push it back to the end of the month, give everyone plenty of time to read it. So it may be bi-monthly, it may be every 2.5 months.
So you're not going to make your announcement?
No. The announcement will happen when the next book starts, because then we'll have a not indefinite, we
won't have a backlog,
a longer amount of time to do this. Because and I do apologize for people that like the book club. We all fully intend for this to happen, but people get busy. We have other stuff going on. There's other books to read.
People pick shit that's out of print.
Arkham Knight to play. So there's
things.
You
beat it.
Yeah, I did. There's things, kind of preventing us from doing this as monthly as we would like, with one reading copy to split between. Potentially 6 people. So
okay. Well, the thing is, we blame outside stuff, but really, it's Secret War's fault. The amount of garbage that we have to read from that just to be current.
I cut my reading down to less than half the books.
Well, I liked your decision on Spider-Verse number 3.
Yeah.
So, are we done?
We are done.
Are we going to cut this short?
Thank you, everyone, for listening.
We do appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to the podcast. Go find the episodes at geekbox.net.
And if you really, really like classic episodes of Ryan and I, tell him on Twitter repeatedly.
Said no one ever. Don't forget to discuss this episode on the forums at geekbox.net and the Geekbox Facebook group. The Geekbox and Comic Conspiracy Facebook group. Digital.comicsconspiracy.biz. That's where you can go buy all your digital comics from us. I actually had someone who said, a listener, that I haven't really described how the digital books work. So in case you don't listen regularly to us, or you haven't heard us talk about this yet, you can basically buy your digital comics from us at digital.comicsconspiracy.biz. It's the same website as Comixology. It's vastly the same books. There occasionally are a few things that are exclusive to Comixology that aren't on there, but they are almost entirely the same books. It's the same account. You log in with your Comixology account. If you buy from us, it's on your Comixology account. If you subscribe through us, it's on your Comixology account. You get your book added to your cart, to your reader list or anything, to your downloads automatically if you subscribe to your regular Comixology account, if you use it on iPhone, iPad, computer, tablet, whatever you use it on. So if you're buying through us, you're still technically going through Comixology. We just get a nice little cut instead of Apple or Microsoft. Always great sales. Always check those sales out. Tons of good stuff right now. DC has some of their best comics they've ever published up right now for $5. Tons of great digital graphic novels.
Oh, what do they got? I haven't
everything.
seen stuff.
Yeah, so go check this stuff out. Great stuff.
I bought those Batman deals when they had those from the 75th. Those were awesome.
Yeah. So check that out, and anything you buy from us, buy through them.
Oh shit!
Like I said,
ebook sale.
Yeah, we get a nice cut.
Holy crap!
Yeah, there's really good stuff up there right now.
Crisis.
Yeah, all their big crossover events.
Infinite Crisis, Identity Crisis.
They're $5 each, too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Don't forget the Patreon at patreon.com/comicconspiracy. Brock has conspiratorBrock.com. That's his blog and video pull list and everything. Go watch his videos. The Infinite Longbox Podcast and Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension. Those are Charlie's 2 other podcasts, comic podcast and a Doctor Who podcast. Go listen to those. I'm on Twitter, Ryan Higgins Ryan. Brock is Brock Sager. Bryce is Larson Bryce. Toby is Toby XI. And Charlie's Insanity in Chaos. Go follow us all on Twitter. Don't forget to listen to the Geekbox, Comedy Button, Good Job Brain, and the All Talk Podcast, the other podcasts on our little network here. We all appreciate. And there's a bunch of Patreons and other stuff for those guys, too. That's it. We'll be back next week, post-Comic-Con, with some news, and we'll see who survived the con. See you next week.
Yo.